We have a lot of different big worms that we use at Strike King and Rage Tail, and one of them is the Rage Thumper worm. This particular worm, it's a 10-inch model, and you can see it's a long, straight worm with a big hook tail on it. Our other one is the Rage Anaconda. You can see they're about the same length and profile, but this is a straighter worm, and it's got a super fast action on the tip of the tail. It actually vibrates the entire body of the worm when it's going through the water. So it's a big straight worm with a nice big hook tail with the Rage flange on the back of it. I'll show you how I rig it. This particular one is Texas rigged, so the weight is free to move about. And you'll notice here's a tear tab that's on the tail. We want to make sure and remove this. Just pinch it off at the top, pop it off at the tail. And you can rig it with the tail turned up or the tail turned down. It's whichever's your preference. I like to use them with the tail turned up, like this. Here's the hook, and there's the tail turned up. And not only can you Texas rig it, but you can also flip this bait as well. If your bait, let's say that a thumper worm the hook gets torn up the head a little bit, you can always pinch it down on these segments and make a shorter profile worm if need be. Here's another thing you can do. If you want to speed up the tail action of this worm itself, as you'll see on our videos, the tail action is a very sweet, fast swimming action with minimum movement of the rod tip or the line itself. But you can also take the tail itself and you can clip it. It's got a score line right, you can see right here, there's a little score line, and I'm just going to clip it along that score line. Yeah, I missed it just a little bit. There it is. Okay, after clipping the score line off and the tip of that tail, you'll notice now it's a cut tail, but it's still got the Rage flange back here on the back. Now, instead of swimming like this, it's a side flap, real fast flapping action, and it's a hyper swim speed for it. So you might want to check this out as well. In fact, there's a lot of people who utilize it like this basically all the time. I like the swimming action sometimes. I let the fish tell me which one they want, but if you want to, you can clip that and get that fast action flapping. And there is a score line on there to show you exactly how to do that. This worm, the Thumper, also comes in a 6-inch model as well. It's a smaller profile, of course, and it's a great little worm as well. In fact, they use it for shaky heads in a lot of different ways like that. There's a variety of different ways to use this bait, and one of them is definitely a Texas rig, where you have the weight that slides up and down the line, or in fact, you can put a peg above the weight or inside the weight itself and keep it pegged to it so you can flip it. So you can flip this worm. You can also rage rig it. I call this a rage rig. That's where you use a weighted hook on any soft plastic. I don't care what soft plastic it is. It just happens, this is the big worm that we're using it on. And instead of the head of this bait falling down, like if it were a Texas rig or flipped with the weight attached to the nose, instead it's attached to the bottom of the body and it falls horizontal like this. And the tail has this sultry action as it's falling slow through the water column. And the tail is working back and forth, so it's a very nice, seductive action for the bass. So it's something you ought to check out. One of the great things about this, especially in shallow water, the rage rig, especially in shallow water or fishing over grass. When it comes up, when it's falling over the grass and it sets right down on the surface of the grass, instead of punching down in it in the grass and the weight probably fouling up with some grass and stuff like that, instead it sets on the top. When you move it slowly across the top of the grass, it feels like it's going across pea gravel. And actually, when it settles down into the grass, you're over here The bait is here, the nose is not down like this, instead it's up. So when you put pressure on it to pull it up, it's not fouling in the grass at all. In fact, it comes up easily, swims through the water column, and then you kill it over the grass and it settles down on top again. It's a very great presentation. You might want to check out whatever worm you choose, whatever bait you choose, use it as a rage rig. Use that weighted hook on it. I think you'll find that it'll add more fish to your live well.